I met Ally during college orientation, and within weeks, we were inseparable. She was loud, magnetic, the kind of person who lit up rooms effortlessly. I was the quieter half, the listener, the observer. It worked. Our friendship was the kind that didn't need effort until Daniel showed up. He was her boyfriend. And at first, that's all he was. Just Ally's boyfriend. They met in a marketing class. She introduced him to me over drinks after midterms. He was tall, confident, charming in a calm way. Not the usual type Ally went for, but she was glowing beside him, so I didn't question it. He made eye contact with everyone, but when his eyes lingered on me a second too long, I chalked it up to nerves. I smiled politely. He smiled back, just a little too knowingly. The three of us started hanging out a lot. I told myself it was just because Ally wanted her best friend and boyfriend to get along. At first, it was harmless. Group study sessions, weekend brunches, late-night movies. But I started noticing the patterns. Daniel always found a way to sit beside me. His compliments always had a hint of something extra. "You have the most expressive eyes," he said one night after a few drinks. Ally was in the bathroom. I laughed it off, but I felt my cheeks flush. I started being hyper-aware. The way his knee brushed against mine under the table. The way his laugh always came a little quicker when I joked. One evening, I was talking about a book I loved. He leaned in, looked at me like no one else was in the room. "You're not like other people," he said, soft but deliberate. I swallowed and looked away. I told myself I was imagining things. I loved Ally, truly. The idea of betraying her never crossed my mind. But something about Daniel, something felt like a puzzle I hadn't figured out yet. He was attentive, observant, always listening. I started to wonder how much of his attention was meant for me. One night, Ally left a study session early, headache. Daniel offered to walk me back. It was just a few blocks, but he insisted. We talked about random things, joked around. At my door, he hesitated. "If things were different," he said, eyes locked on mine, "you and I could have been something else." I laughed, a nervous, too loud laugh. "Good night, Daniel," I said, and shut the door before he could say more. But I didn't sleep that night. His words looped in my mind, and my stomach twisted with guilt and curiosity. I told myself I didn't feel anything for him. I was just flattered. I told myself a lot of things. What I didn't tell myself was the truth. A part of me had already opened the door. After that night, something shifted. I avoided Daniel for days, kept texts short, dodged meetups. But he didn't let up. One night, I got a message. "You okay? You've been distant." I hesitated before replying. "Just busy." He replied instantly. "I miss talking to you." That was the beginning. We started messaging at odd hours. It felt harmless at first, casual banter, memes, deep talks about random things. But then it changed. He started opening up about his problems with Ally. "She doesn't really listen," he wrote. "I feel like I can be more myself with you." I stared at the screen, heart pounding. I should have shut it down. I didn't. I told myself I was just being a good listener. I rationalized it. He needed someone to talk to, and who better than someone who cared about both of them? But I felt the shift. The way I waited for his messages. The way I reread them before sleeping. I started dressing a little better when I knew we'd all hang out. I noticed when he noticed. One night, he texted, "You ever think about what things would be like if we'd met first?" I stared at it for 5 minutes. I didn't reply, but I didn't block him either. The next day, we acted like nothing had changed. But everything had. He started touching my arm when he laughed, leaning in closer, holding eye contact longer. Ally didn't notice. Or maybe she trusted us too much to question anything. That made it worse. Her trust felt like a weight on my chest. Still, I didn't stop. I told myself nothing physical had happened, so it wasn't cheating. Just a connection. Just a stupid, reckless connection I kept feeding. It all came to a head after one of Ally's parties. She got too drunk and went to bed early. Daniel stayed back, helping clean up. I stayed too, not knowing why. Maybe I did know. The conversation drifted, then stalled. He looked at me and said, "This feels right." You and me, it feels easy. I froze. My heart pounded. I wanted to scream at him, push him away, remind him that this wasn't okay. But instead, I said, this can't happen. My voice didn't even sound like mine. He didn't push, just nodded. I know, but it still feels real. After he left, I sat there in the dark for a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't move. I just stared at the floor, trying to understand how I'd gotten here. How few harmless messages had spiraled into this emotional mess I couldn't untangle. I wasn't blameless. I'd let it happen. I wanted him to want me, and he did. That was the part one couldn't admit out loud. Not to Ally. Not even to myself. Ally and Daniel had a fight. Something about him being distant, always on his phone, never fully present. She vented to me, frustrated but trying to stay composed. I listened, nodded, gave vague advice I didn't believe in. I felt like a liar just standing there. Later that night, Daniel texted me, I need to clear my head. Can I come over? I hesitated. I should have said no. But I didn't. He showed up quieter than usual. No flirting. No smirks. Just tired eyes and silence. He sat down and for a while we didn't say anything. Then he spoke. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I feel stuck. I told him he should talk to Ally, fix it, try harder. But he shook his head. We're not right. I've been trying to force it. I didn't respond. Part of me didn't want to hear that. Part of me did. The silence between us stretched. He looked at me in that way he always did, too long, too honest. I wish I met you first, he said, barely above a whisper. This time, I didn't stop him when he leaned in. I didn't turn away. Our lips touched, and everything I'd been holding back crashed through at once. It didn't feel like passion. It felt like giving in, like something inevitable finally happening. I didn't think about Ally. I didn't think about consequences. For the first time, I let myself want what I wasn't supposed to. He kissed me like he'd been waiting forever. And I kissed him like I'd already made the decision weeks ago. Afterward, the air felt heavy. He sat there, staring at the floor. I wrapped myself in a blanket, unable to look at him. No words, just guilt, loud, overwhelming guilt. He finally said, we can't tell her. I nodded without arguing. What was there to say? I knew what we did. I knew what it meant. He left without hugging me. No goodnight, no promises. Just walked out. I stood at the door long after he disappeared down the street. My hands were shaking. I felt hollow. I wanted to cry, but couldn't. I didn't feel sad. I didn't even feel angry. Just numb. I had crossed a line, and now I was standing on the other side, looking back at who I used to be. Someone loyal. Someone good. Now, I wasn't sure what I was anymore. I laid in bed, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. I kept hearing Ally's laugh in my head. Her voice when she called me her sister. Her trust, her loyalty. And I shattered it with a single moment of weakness. But it wasn't just one moment. It had been building for weeks. Every ignored red flag, every flirt I let slide, every message I answered with a smile. I'd made this bed step by step. And now I had to lie in it alone. I avoided Ally for days. Ignored her calls, made up excuses, said I was sick, busy, overwhelmed. The truth sat in my chest like a rock. Every time I looked at my phone, guilt hit me like a wave. I thought if I stayed quiet, if I let time pass, maybe it would fade. It didn't. If anything, it got worse. Daniel texted once. Are you okay? I didn't respond. What was there to say? Then she showed up at my door unannounced. Her face was calm, but her eyes weren't. What's going on with you? She asked. I mumbled something about needing space. She looked at me for a long time, then asked, did something happen between you and Daniel? My throat closed up. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. She already knew. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just nodded slowly and whispered, I trusted you. Both of you. Then she turned and left. I stood there, frozen, wishing she had yelled, thrown something, done anything to match the storm inside me. But silence? That was worse. It was final. Later that night, I checked Daniel's social media. Nothing had changed. He was still posting like everything was fine. Pictures, stories, comments. No hint of regret, no sign of what we did. I stared at his smiling face and felt sick. I told myself we had a connection. That maybe, in some twisted way, there was something real there. But now it just felt pathetic. I wasn't special. I was convenient. I thought about texting Ally, explaining, apologizing, begging. But I didn't. She didn't need more words. She needed the version of me I used to be, the one I destroyed. And Daniel? He disappeared. No explanation, no confrontation. Just vanished, like none of it mattered. Maybe it never did. I kept replaying everything. How easily I let it happen, how willingly I ignored the warnings. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't manipulated. I knew exactly what I was doing. And that's what made it worse. I thought I could handle the guilt, but it chipped away at me until I couldn't even look in the mirror. I ended up writing everything down anonymously. A Reddit post. Just to confess to someone, even if it was strangers. The comments were harsh, as expected. Some called me the worst kind of friend. Others said Daniel was the real villain. None of it made me feel better. I kept one message in mind, though. Someone wrote, "You made a choice. Own it. Grow from it. But don't pretend you were powerless." They were right. I wasn't a victim. I was a willing participant in a betrayal that wrecked a friendship I once valued more than anything. Now it's quiet. No more messages. No more shared laughter. Just me, sitting with the consequences. He wanted it. So I let him. And I lost someone who would have chosen me 1,000 times over. I broke something that will never be whole again.